Hello, thank you very much for joining us for this GDA webinar. This is a session today that is focusing on two of the cross-cutting activities in the GDA program, the Knowledge Hub platform and the Analytics and Processing Platform, also known as APP or just simply app. So I'm Ravi Kapoor. I am the Managing Director of Imperative Space. We are the lead on the Knowledge Hub platform, but we also have a role in various other aspects of the GDA program. We support the M&E activity led by Caribou Space, but we're also involved in strategic communications and supporting some of the video content production for the program as well. And today we're going to be joined by a number of colleagues from around the world, in fact, to talk about these two important parts of the program. So shortly we're going to hear from the director of the program, Chris Albrecht, who is currently in transit, and we're just waiting for him to join, so we're hoping he'll be with us shortly. But also by Mariangela Cataldo, who's the technical lead for the Knowledge Hub activity on the ESA side, and her colleague Patrick Griffiths, who is the technical officer for the Analytics and Processing Platform. After that, we're going to have a demonstration of both platforms, initially from my colleague Chiara Novelli from Imperative Space, who will walk us through the Knowledge Hub, and then our colleague Alessia from MEEO, who will take us through the Analytics and Processing Platform. And then the latter part of the discussion, we are delighted to be joined by a couple of colleagues who are representing other partners to the program and indeed a sort of end user perspective. We're joined by Foster Mensah from CERSGIS in Ghana, and also by Peter Baum from the Asian Development Bank based in Manila, who will be joining us a bit later on. Maybe I can just give you a little bit of context of the GDA program for those who are new to it, and I'm hoping Chris will fill in a bit more detail later on. Just very briefly, the GDA program is the Global Development Assistance Program for MEESA, and it's an unusual program that it's a collaboration with the key international financial institutions in the development sector, so principally the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank, and also IFAD, with others hopefully partnering with the program soon. The program is aimed at enabling mainstreaming and increase of uptake of Earth observation data in international development contexts, and particularly in the decision-making value chain for key critical areas of development. And on that note, I'm glad to say we're now joined by Chris, who can hopefully pick up the baton and tell you in more detail what the program is all about and its aims. Chris, thanks for joining. Are you able to pick up from there?
I will keep my video off because I'm outside, but thanks, Ravi. I will keep my remarks very short. Just wanted to really say welcome to all of you. And I think that the GDA program doesn't require a lot of further introduction. I think we have had a series of webinars on all kinds of related topics. And I certainly would encourage you also to explore the GDA web portal, gda.esa.int. But today is really about the Knowledge Hub and the Analytics and Processing Platform. On that note, we had 2 weeks ago this really exciting knowledge event organized at our Esrin facilities in Frascati. I'm not sure if Ravi already alluded to it, but I'm sure we will hear about it still during the course of today's webinar. And it was for the first time that we really brought together, you could argue, all three pillars of the GDA ecosystem. So we had the development finance institutions, development banks, but also UN system, the UNOSSC. In Frascati, we had the Earth observation industry. And importantly, we had also representatives from developing countries. So these three elements really interacted. And the Knowledge Hub platform were really designed to facilitate that interaction between those three pillars. And I think that the team today will build on the lessons that we learned from the knowledge event, but also from the development of these tools over the last couple of months. And actually, it's now almost 2 years, I think. So I guess I leave it with this. You will hear from the experts. And I look forward to obviously following this and also answer any questions that there might be at the end. Thanks, Ravi.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yes, indeed, the event we had the other week was a really important opportunity to bring together all parties and to see these platforms in action. There was a fantastic buzz around the event and a real sense that the Knowledge Hub and the Analytics and Processing Platform can help with, very specific scenario planning as well as being something that provides a helpful orientation into Earth observation for those who are relatively new to it in the development arena. There's a couple of pieces of housekeeping I forgot to mention right at the beginning. So first of all, just to mention that this event is being recorded and the video will be circulated and made available after the event. And secondly, just to remind you all that you can ask questions. We do have the chat live, but actually we'd prefer, if at all possible, you could put your questions for the panel into the Q&A box that's at the bottom of your Zoom window. But do feel free to use both tools as needed. We will now move over to the first of our key presentations. So Mariangela, I'd ask you please to pick up the floor and give us a brief introduction to the Knowledge Hub platform itself. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Ravi, and good afternoon, everyone. I will give you a notion and give you a short introduction to the knowledge of activity. As I said, I would just like to give you a bit of context to the knowledge of activity, which is an activity started almost 2 years ago, and it is a consortium led by Imperative Space and includes Caribou, Ignite, Education, and Media. So what does it come from? What are the objectives of the Knowledge Hub? As you mostly probably all know, there's a lot going on in the GDA program, a lot of activity and many demonstrations of how Earth observation can support projects, development projects financed by the international financing institutions. And there's really a lot of knowledge underlying all these activities. Actually, this whole knowledge base built by the various activities within GDA program needs to be preserved and made available to everyone. And so that what the Knowledge Hub does is to try and build an organized version of this knowledge base and to make it clear and to transmit it with a clear language and make it consistent throughout all the thematic areas. The main audience of the Knowledge Hub are, as mentioned, the financial institutions, international financial institutions, and the stakeholders from the client countries. And the idea is that this all information might help support their development projects and the capacity building and capacity development activities in the use of Earth observation. Just to give you an idea, this is the result of all these objectives. I will not go into it because we'll hear in detail. We'll have a demonstration just after, soon after my talk. I want just to give you instead an idea of where we are with this activity. The Knowledge Hub was launched at the end of June with showcasing EO capabilities and case studies and use cases in 8 of the 11 GDA thematic areas. Now the activities are ongoing to cover all the other thematic areas, and the idea in the future is to take advantage of the heritage of GDA, so enlarge the knowledge base to other activities as well beyond GDA. As already mentioned by Chris before, we had the first knowledge event a couple of weeks ago, which was really great gathering of different actors from the IFI side, from the countries, and from a few representatives from the Earth observation industry, and we have in the planning a series already of integrations, improvements, and updates, which include also some updates, of course, of the contents, include more integrations with the APP, which we will soon hear about, additional materials on training components, and improved chatbot, and last but not least, some initial connection with the platforms from the international financial institutions side. So I would just stop here with this quick overview. I hope you could hear something, and I'll leave the floor to the next.
Thank you, Mariangela. We got there in the end. Thanks so much for persisting. The audio is perfectly fine in the end. So great. Well, thank you for that overview. We're now going to switch over to Patrick, who I think has now also joined the panel. There you are, Patrick. Good to see you. Who, as mentioned, is the technical officer for the Analytics and Processing Platform. So over to you for a brief overview of APP. Thanks.
Thank you, Ravi, and good afternoon, everyone. Happy to join you here. I would like to briefly introduce the objectives and the scope of the APP. So this is the Analytics and Processing Platform. It's kind of a complementary and also cross-cutting activity in the GDA program. It's developed by the consortium that you see here at the bottom. So it's led by MEEO, together with GeoVil, GMV, and EarthPulse. So the main objectives of the GDA APP were to develop and build a cloud-based analytics and processing environment that's tailored to the needs of the GDA program at large, to the needs of the IFIs and the larger development assistance community. At the same time, we wanted to address different levels of thematic and technical expertise, so ranging from people who prefer non-code interfaces to more technical experts and all the in-betweens as well, and to provide intuitive interfaces for process execution and data exploration. And thirdly, to curate a set of relevant processes and data sets from the larger Earth observation ecosystem. So GDA app was launched similarly to the Knowledge Hub in the summer of 2025. We have currently 8 out of the 10 initially foreseen processes online. And this is important. GDA app is free and open to all to use. However, this limits a bit the data volume and the areas that you can process. At the same time, we're preparing a premium offering for large-scale and data-intensive usage of the GDA app. This premium offering will be offered in the ESA network of resources, which also provides a sponsorship mechanism for potential users to test this out, to see if it's working for their needs, and then hopefully to become a subscribing and paying customer for GDA app. So without going too much into detail of what GDA app does and what it looks like, here's a quick overview of the different interfaces that we're offering. So currently we already have these very intuitive interfaces for users to interact with the app. We have the advanced tools for the more technical experts to also build new applications in GDA app. And we have a nicely curated set of processors with relevance for the overall GDA and IFI communities. There are a few objectives on the near-term timeline, though, and these include, for example, to integrate effectively with processors and on-demand algorithms that are hosted on other platforms in the ecosystem, to effectively also federate with the IFI information systems that are out there. And we have in the last meeting in Esri, we have seen a lot of these, so there's a lot out there that we need to connect to. And then finally also to strengthen and deepen the integration with the Knowledge Hub. And the details you will see in the following demos. I'll close it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much for that very succinct overview. Great. So now we're going to move into slightly more detailed demonstrations of the platform. So I'm going to ask, first of all, Chiara from Imperative Space to give us a walkthrough, please, of the Knowledge Hub platform. Thanks, Chiara.
Thank you, Ravi. I am going to give you now an overview and a walkthrough of the platform itself. But first, let me spend a few words before we do on some of the feedback that we have received going back to the knowledge event that was held in Frascati at the end of October at Esrin, because this was, as Christoph Albrecht mentioned, a unique opportunity to really bring all the different sides together, all the pillars of the GDA program together. And the discussion that followed was extremely fruitful. As I was mentioning, just to spend a few words on some of the key themes, of the recurring themes that were raised by the different counterparts and the different sides, and how they fit into the cross-cutting approach, this integrated approach that the GDA program applies. Now, some of the, when it comes to embedding Earth observation into development operations, there are some key challenges, with some recurring challenges at different levels with different facets that the stakeholders have reported. One of them, and the first, would be awareness, but not awareness in the sense of knowing about Earth observation per se, as the GDA program has worked extensively also through its predecessor EO4SD to really expand and raise awareness about Earth observation. But really, there is a key piece which can be further enhanced and expanded on, which is really fully understanding the potential of Earth observation and how it can be embedded into core operations. So at with a more structured and structural approach. Next to awareness, obviously awareness is something which, although it has expanded incredibly with really tangible results, it is also something which we also want to maintain over time, sustainably, also for newcomers. Then the next thing would be access. Once I learn about Earth observation, I need access to information. If I am a non-EO expert, I might be looking for information which is at the very basic stage. It gives me an idea of what it is that Earth observation can do and how I can incorporate it into my projects. Then I would be looking for data sets, and as well as once I am possibly hopefully convinced that Earth observation provides real added value to my projects, then I might be looking for relevant expertise, so for expert support. Then we move on to trust, building confidence that incorporating EO into my operations, into development operations, brings tangible benefits. It is a reliable source of data, and what helps with building confidence is really having measurable outcomes. And for this, we also, one of the cross-cutting activities, so the monitoring and evaluation activities, really supports with showcasing what has been done so far, what has been implemented, and in also showcasing analytics. Finally, we have skills. We talk about sharing knowledge here and also building capacity. So this is, again, thought of more in terms of a structured approach and a sustainable approach, which means that it might it might lean more towards internal skill transfer, for example, from an IFI perspective, but not only, or a solution-oriented training for institutional adoption, for example, but also, and crucially, continuous learning which goes beyond the scope and the life of any individual projects. And now I will move on to showing you how the Knowledge Hub and the APP, how can the Knowledge Hub and the APP support in achieving some of these objectives. Mariangela and Patrick already provided an overview, But the Knowledge Hub and the Analytics Processing Platform work together and will increasingly work in synergy in the future to centralize resources and align EO tools and data with user needs. So the result of these efforts are user-friendly, easy platforms which provide easy access to information and data sets, a simplified and end-user-oriented language and terminology, which makes information easily accessible also for non-EO experts in the shape of a taxonomy, and finally structured support through both training materials on the one hand and expert consultations on the other. And now I will move on to the presentation of the platform itself, and we'll give you a quick overview of what this consists of in practice. This is the Knowledge Hub. This is the homepage of the Knowledge Hub. And the Knowledge Hub consists of 3 key components. First, we have the library, which I will talk more about in just a moment. And this consists of an interactive, extensive repository of European EO service capabilities, EO capabilities, so EO-based products or services, use cases, so sub-challenges in different thematic areas in the development sector, as well as case studies, so concrete examples of how Earth observation has been implemented to address these challenges. We then have the trainers area, which supports training and capacity building, particularly IFI-based capacity building in their own operations and also in client countries. And finally, we have the consultation rooms, which offers additional support, both in the way of an AI assistant, AI-enabled assistant, but also by giving access to the users the option to get in touch with experts and schedule video calls, so for text-based messaging and video conferencing. We also have easy access to common questions, to new items which are being added on the platform, as well as a crash course for beginners in EO, and some of the champions of the GDA program to help end users further find topics of interest. We also have easy access to webinars and publications. Now, diving into the library, this is really the heart of the platform, and it provides end users a very user-friendly overview in the form of a well-organized list of EO-based products or services, which can be filtered with thematic area as well as readiness level. When selecting one of the thematic areas, for example, I'm choosing to learn more about marine environment and blue economy, I then have an overview of the different products or services. And when clicking on an individual page, I have at a first glance an overview of the EO capability benefits, as well as a description of what the EO capability consists of. Finally, we have the underlying EO capabilities wherever applicable for a selected product or service. On the right-hand side, we also offer reference to typical input data sources. When clicking on the use cases tab right next to it, I can access very quickly the related sub-challenge or sub-theme. And in this case, I get a description to learn more about this specific challenge, and then I can easily link back to the related EO capabilities that underlie this use case. Finally, through the challenge, I can then easily access the related case studies, so concrete examples under the GDA program of how a specific issue was addressed in collaboration, and it showcases really the collaboration between the IFIs, the European EO industry, as well as the country counterparts. And I can finally link back to the related use cases. Going back to the homepage, we can then access the trainers area. The trainers area is thought to provide an interactive way to create portfolios and to create custom collections of materials, leveraging what is already available on the Knowledge Hub. And for this, we have created a training module assembler, which allows users to put together their own trainings, leveraging what is already available, but not just that, also create entire collections and then download the materials that they wish to use and add it into their own training activities. And you can see a brief overview in video form to help guide users in utilizing this tool. Finally, we have the third component of the Knowledge Hub, which is the consultation rooms. And here we really listen to end users who might not necessarily be experts in Earth observation, but might be extremely interested in it, but sometimes need and oftentimes need expert assistance. And the first layer of support here consists of the chat GDA of the AI-enabled assistant. And when clicking on I would like to talk to an expert, the user is redirected to a different page, which allows them to reach out to real experts from the GDA program and possibly, if they are interested, schedule a live consultation. And this is a list of showcasing who our Knowledge Hub experts are, as well what their role is, as well as the thematic area that they cover. To help further guide users, we finally have common answers to frequently asked questions, and in order to help them book consultations easily and seamlessly. And that concludes the overview of the Knowledge Hub. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chiara. Thanks for that very helpful walkthrough. And as Chiara touched on, of course, we're trying to ensure greater integration or connectivity, let's say, at this stage between the Knowledge Hub and the APP. There are, of course, those cross-links to specific capabilities, but this is only really just the beginning. And as we discussed at the event in Frascati a couple of weeks ago, we are very much looking to receive your feedback and the wider community's feedback on what you feel is working well and what the opportunities are to build on the tools that have developed so far and improve some of those integrations. So we look forward to hearing more from you. On that point, I should just mention that we can see in the chat that there's been a comment made that there's an issue with logging into the platform at the moment. We think that's just on one particular browser type, but we're looking into that and we'll get back to you shortly. If anybody else has any technical challenges, do let us know. But as mentioned, we're continuing improving the platform, and so there will from time to time be moments when little glitches emerge, and of course don't hesitate to get in touch about that. Right, so at this point, thank you, Chiara. We're going to now move over to Alessia, who's going to do a similar walkthrough, hopefully, of the Analytics and Processing Platform.
Yes.
Thank you, Alessia.
Good day, everyone. Thanks, Ravi. I'm going to share my screen as well. You should see now. Much like the Knowledge Hub, the APP aims to support capacity building and preserve the analytical heritage and resources generated by all GDA initiatives. Like Patrick anticipated, we strive to do so by offering users the power to run all these complex EO capabilities across various areas and timeframes of interest with ease, because user-centric design and user-friendliness, it's one of our driving goals. Before we dive into the APP, I'd like to address as well the suggestions we received from the participants of the GDA Knowledge event. Here is the full list of suggestions we collected via Mentimeter. And following the event, we sat down at a table and started technically assessing the various impacts of feasibility and perspectives. And here is our strategy. We have set out an implementation plan divided in 3 phases. Our short-term goals, of course, are focused on stability and the critical needs of the platform. For example, during the event, some users experienced some registration and login issues, which were promptly escalated to the ESA OEM team, and they are currently under investigation. And following the event, we have immediately added some explanations for the units of measurement and enhanced some of the dataset descriptions in the Explorer. In the medium term, the priority will shift to improving user experience. So for sure, we will start creating and delivering video tutorials on the APP, on its capabilities, and also some application examples to the GDA YouTube channel. And we will enhance navigation with a search box feature for the map. In the long term, we aim to expand the platform features. This includes providing support for vector format for outputs, integrating in-depth analytics and result summaries within the applicable capabilities. And last but not least, introducing the option to export the results as PDF or reports. As you can see, as Patrick mentioned before, these are the various sections that were designed to accommodate users with varying levels of expertise in EO data. EO capabilities offer user-friendly interfaces to simplify the execution of the analytical workflows. We have also additional EO capabilities, a section which includes the federated on-demand algorithms developed under the Apex and the Open EO initiatives. These are currently redirects, but we plan to provide the same execution experience as the GDA capabilities in the next months. Following below, we have Explorer, which is your window to discover and visualize data, either generated by the APP platform and the GDA community in general, but also sourced from the Copernicus dataspace ecosystem and the NASA. This service can be leveraged either through this WebJS interface and an API endpoint, because the interface relies on an OpenStack catalog. The component is also modular, so we can connect any additional data sources of interest following interoperable standards. And finally, we have advanced tools, which is the section allowing technical users to leverage the platform programmatically, and soon to manage the analytical workflows, which are built as Docker images as well. Our consortium has been working to deliver an initial set of 10 core capabilities. And next on the integration roadmap, there are ground motion monitoring, which analyzes ground deformation, and the vessel detection system, which monitors and analyzes vessel movements. As you can see, the majority of the capabilities, which with probably just one exception of AI road extraction-based layer, most of them all rely on either Sentinel-1 or 2 or both Sentinel imagery, making them globally applicable to monitor changes over the last decade. They are designed to address a broad range of monitoring thematic needs, and they are currently not customized for specific regions or reporting frameworks. They essentially provide raw data to serve a wide spectrum of monitoring requirements. However, they can be tailored for certain monitoring requests that are brought to our attention. Now I would like to try out one of the capabilities with you, and I would like to do so with, let's say, a concrete example. So imagine we are supporting a humanitarian initiative focused on tracking the displacement of Malian refugees in Burkina Faso. For context, since 2012, conflict in northern Mali has driven significant refugee flows, and a key settlement is the Goudoubou refugee camp. So we will analyze how the camp has evolved over time using the built-up areas delineation. This is an AI model running on GPU procured through the ESA network of resources. And as you can see, it leverages Sentinel-2 multispectral images. Just to show you some aspect of the platform that was mentioned earlier by Patrick. I have obviously a free account, so when I draw a very large area, or I select a very broad amount of time, the platform will stop me because I have a free account. If I had a premium tier account, which specific temporal and spatial constraints, this would be possible. In this case, to monitor the camp in 2025 and in 2020, I will need to do two different jobs, two different executions. So first of all, I will upload the area from my profile where I had previously saved it. And I will select the start date and the end date of my analysis. I can use the calendar feature, but I can also copy and paste it. I will select just a small time frame in order to have just one image, but I could also select the entire month, the maximum time frame allowed, and the processor would retrieve all the Sentinel-2 images available and first super resolve them, and then generate the georeferenced binary map at 3-meter resolution for each one of them. Once I'm done and I'm satisfied, I can click run, and the job is saved and will progress, even if obviously I can close the window, turn off the PC and do my other tasks. I could do the same to analyze the month of May in 2020, but for the sake of timeliness, I just show you the outputs I've already generated. This is May 2020. And this is the camp 5 years later. By comparing the maps, it's evident that the structures have significantly decreased over the period, but to complement this visual interpretation, there is also a Jupyter notebook available in the advanced tool, advanced capabilities section, which helps quantify the urban areas and make numerical conclusions. And before leaving the floor to Ravi again, I would like to conclude by emphasizing that beyond the specific EO capabilities, the purpose of the APP is to be a common environment where different EO tools come together and work in synergy. For example, we have integrated our AI super resolution as pre-processing step of 2 other capabilities, namely built-up areas delineation and change detection, and it will soon be integrated into EO time-lapse generator as well. All at the service of the aided development initiatives. So, in addition, we also strive to ensure a user-centric design. And you are welcome to try the APP out and leave us feedback. If you have any specific monitoring needs, please reach out to the team and we will assess together how to fulfill them best. Thank you so much for your attention.
Very many thanks, Alessia. It was really, really helpful, really thorough, clear overview. I hope everybody will agree. And at this point, maybe I could just remind you all, please, to put some questions forward to the panel. Use the Q&A box, but also the chat if you want to. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And, it was great to hear Alessia and Chiara giving an insight into the various different features. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, we are continually looking to hear from you and enhance what we will do next with these platforms as they continue to evolve. So now is a good moment to put some of those thoughts on the table, and so please do share some thoughts with us in the chat and in the Q&A. So we're going to move on now to the latter section of this webinar. We're going to hear in a moment from 2 colleagues with slightly different perspectives on the value of these platforms. But as a preamble to that, I'd also like to just highlight how one of the things that we've paid attention to in developing this platform is what to leave out as much as what to put in. It's often the case when new platforms like this are developed that there is a tendency to try and make them do as much as possible and be all sort of singing and dancing. But we've taken a lot of care and time over thinking about end user needs, thinking about the actual use cases, and what is the sort of level of information that is helpful for people who want to orientate themselves into the potential of these capabilities in EO. So you'll have seen from certainly Chiara's presentation that the descriptions are hopefully in an accessible language, and that they are presented in a way that acts as an entry point for anybody who's coming to this fresh. But through the training module assembler and through the other components, we do want to create pathways to further more detailed information and eventually more technical training in the future as well. And it was good to see there Alessia mentioned the Jupyter notebooks that are also available or will become available via APP, and in the future we hope to integrate that a little bit more with the training part of the Knowledge Hub. Again, your feedback on that and what your needs are from a training point of view would be very, very welcome. So moving on then, I'd like to ask Foster to join me. Now, Foster, we're delighted has made the time to join us today, but also joined us at the Knowledge event in Frascati a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm particularly keen to hear in a moment from Foster on his thoughts on the interactions that took place there. Foster is the Executive Director of CERSGIS in Ghana. And I think for bandwidth reasons, Foster, you're planning to keep your camera off, which is completely fine if that's what you need to do. But maybe we could just start, if you would be happy to maybe just say a couple of words about CERSGIS, what its role is, and your take on the value of programs like GDA in supporting the kind of work you do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ravi. And I must say, I had a real privilege to experience firsthand in Frascati the Knowledge Hub and the APP. And I must say, this is an attempt to bridge that gap between the EO science and development work. I am from the applied and policy-facing environment, and so I find it very, very intuitive and very useful. And I think that going forward, this is going to be very accessible to institutions like us in this part of the world. My name is Foster Mensah, like Ravi mentioned. I'm based here in the University of Ghana at the Center for Remote Sensing and Geographic Information Services. That's a mouthful. But in a nutshell, what we do is we organize geospatial databases for institutions, public institutions and private institutions. We are a center that's been set up as a company limited by guarantee, even though we are based in the university. And so we support research and deliver services, EO-based services to institutions like the ministries and also development partners using EO data. And so that's why we find this this initiative very apt for the kind of work and services that we deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Foster. And I wonder if you could maybe just characterize a little bit some of the challenges in the region. You're based there in Ghana, and you know, in some respects, very much on the front line of climate change impact. Can you tell me a bit about sort of what the policy context is and what the level of awareness is of Earth observation amongst your counterpart agencies and other partners in the region? And again, you know, tell us a bit about how useful it is to have access to the kind of tools we've been looking at today.
I must say we have come a long way. I mean, gone are the days when awareness of EO and what EO can do was very, very rudimentary and non-existent. I can't say that anymore, even though we still have a lot of work to do. And like you said, we are at the forefront where there is a lot of impact of climate change on our environment and how we also deplete the natural resources. And so there should be a way of monitoring and helping decision makers see to what extent they can develop interventions that will help minimize the impact that climate change is having on the kind of resources, especially the natural resources that we have in this part of the world. And so EO services come very handy. It's been a challenge to get to the decision makers with that kind of information. I know decision makers would readily accept it when we show them maps indicating what is and what is happening, the trends, the changes, and how we are able to detect changes with EO data. But what they would want is the insights. They would want to move beyond just us showing them maps, colorful, nice maps, and so what kind of they ask us. And so, yeah, this is nice. This is great. And so what next? You know, and so the reason why I think this Knowledge Hub and the APP is a game changer is because we are moving there where we can interact in a collaborative way between the practitioners and also the decision makers, and begin to show them insights and not only maps, so that they can appreciate what the power that EO brings to resolving some of the numerous challenges that we have in this part of the world.
That's great to hear, Foster, and that very much speaks to what I mentioned a moment ago in how we've tried to design the platform, the Knowledge Hub, in a manner that is not too overwhelming and that sort of takes a sort of hand-holding approach to help bring people into the subject matter and to understand the capabilities that exist before getting too deep into the technicalities and the specific data. And I hope that's playing out well. I want to bring in Peter Baum in a moment, who's also joined us from the Asian Development Bank. But just before we turn to Peter, one more thought for you, Foster, is I'd like to ask you about some of the innovations on the Knowledge Hub platform and also on APP, in particular the consultation room component that allows access to real-world experts, the chatbot element, of course, but also the training module assembler. It may be that you've not had a chance yet to investigate these in great detail, but just in principle, are these sorts of innovations, do you think, a useful part of the toolbox that we need to offer to end users, policymakers, and others wanting to engage with EO?
Absolutely, Ravi. I must say, since I came back, I have been trying to play with this, and I find it, especially the knowledge hub, very, very intuitive. You are able to move around. The APP, even though it's accessible with a little guidance, I think you should be able to get there. That's a little bit more technical. And so I think that with the Knowledge Hub, it's spot on. The APP probably we'd have to provide some guidance for people, especially non-EO experts, and also the decision makers who would want to interact with this platform, so that it makes it very easy, even though they will be sitting with an expert to explain to them what they would want to see or not, but it will be, to make this process very, and especially the learning curve very, manageable for them.
Thank you, Foster. Super valuable feedback. Thank you so much for that. Stay with us. I'm going to bring in Peter now at this point. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's very late there in Manila, so really grateful that you've been able to make the time for us. So Peter is Senior Energy Specialist at ADB, the Asian Development Bank. Peter, what's your take on all of this? And as somebody who's been following the development of the GDA program for some time, do you feel that these kinds of platforms and tools are going to be an important contribution to the ambition of the program?
Thank you, Ravi, and thanks to the whole ESA GDA team for having me today or tonight here in Manila. I really enjoyed the session and learning more about the Knowledge Hub and the app, and getting to know it better. I think it's a really good tool in several ways. With the Knowledge Hub, I had the feeling it's a good way of learning for myself, let's say a somewhat informed generalist on Earth observation, to what is possible, what has been done, where can things be combined, but also a conversation starter with people in ESA and expert companies. So that was really helpful. With the Explorer, that obviously a lot more on what data is available, how what resolutions are there, etc. But I also thought, again, as a kind of generalist who's seeking solutions, who's looking to bring in solutions, it's also a great way of communicating with decision makers. You always face the challenge bringing up. So I work on the energy sector in particular, but you face the challenge of either this is too complicated. Why do I need satellite or Earth observation satellite imagery for electrification, for example? Or what's the practical value? We've been building transmission lines for 50, 100 years. So what's the practical value of this? So I really like that the app Explorer is something that you can show people. You don't need to go, not everybody needs to know everything about Earth observation, but it's a great tool to communicate. So I was grateful for the session on that, and I think it's really, really powerful to communicate in several different ways.
Thank you, Peter. And interesting you should mention transmission lines. I'm conscious, of course, of the particular case study in Papua New Guinea that we've spoken about previously. And I wonder whether you could maybe just use that as an example to characterize some of the specific challenges in the region in which you work, and the way in which Earth observation and the kind of tools that we're talking about here can help to sort of dramatically transform perceptions of what is or isn't possible in difficult terrains and difficult regions for practical implementation of things like transmission lines.
So you're talking about the case study. Always happy to talk about this one. So Papua New Guinea, for context, is a country with where the electrification rate stands below 20% at the moment. It's quite a big country and a dispersed population in a rugged terrain and topography. So while the path to electrifying some communities is relatively clear, closer to major population centers, for the rest, for the rest of the country, it's quite hard to understand on the one hand where the population, where major settlements are and how to reach them, and then because it is all over the country, or really across the country, it's it is incredibly costly to try to do this in a let's say on the ground in a survey in a survey. So what we've tried to do is to work with obviously with ESA and help us to identify where settlements are, what a let's say a 90% version of a distribution grid could look like, what it would, an estimate of what it would cost like, so we can roll this out more quickly, have a good idea and do this for larger parts of the country to have a good idea where to start instead of really going on the ground. This is you can Earth observation cannot substitute everything, but really give you a better idea where to start and give you cost estimates and understanding what the situation looks like.
So having that in a systematic, organized way on a platform that shows what's been delivered elsewhere in other contexts, such as on the Knowledge Hub, and also having the opportunity to play with specific relevant data on something like APP, can that really help with the arguments you make locally to explain the value of bringing Earth observation into the picture?
It's really important to be able to communicate what the value of this is, and I think the APP gives you this tool to show the decision maker. Because when we think of satellites, again, we're talking about a rural development context. Satellites might be the last thing that somebody is thinking of, because we're thinking about building roads, access to running water and electricity. So showing that what can be done and what has been done elsewhere is really, really powerful there. I want to mention this because I think this was at the knowledge event, something where I think everybody, all participants, had a kind of an aha moment where we looked at a map of deforestation over decades, and just seeing what data and what the satellite images can, how they can portray the changes that have happened. Really, it just shows you how useful it is, and I know and Foster is probably much deeper in the substance, but for decision makers that don't deal with Earth observation and GIS on a daily basis, this is really important to be able to show the beautiful maps or the shocking results of the maps, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter. That's super clear and really helpful to hear. Well, look, we are pretty much at the end of our time. So last chance for everyone to put any questions to us in the Q&A box if you'd like to. But one last one from me to both you, Peter, and to Foster, which is really just to say, it's a big question, this, and not one you can say everything about in one go. But for you, are there any outstanding, really clear additional features or capabilities that you would be looking for from platforms like these to really help with your own operational needs and policy discussions at a local level? Is there anything that really sort of jumps out as a must-have that you'd like to see in future iterations of these kinds of tools?
Let me put this in context. For instance, if you take Ghana, one of the very, very unpalatable and major issues that we have is the illegal mining menace, and how we are destroying the forest cover, and so the government is at the end of its wits how to deal. Even though we are able to show them, like I said, maps. Just showing the extent to which the forest is gone, the level of deforestation and forest degradation. They would want to do something about it. And the thing is, how can we use tools like this to to communicate and also to help these decision makers resolve these. And one of the things that has been coming to my mind is, what about having a predictive analytical tool, a tool that is able to predict, let's say, when that actual event would occur, so that we can, for instance, inform the institution that's responsible. We have had discussions with the security agencies who are also involved, and one of the things they asked us is, are we able to preempt? Are we able to tell them where next this will occur, so then we can put in place some intervention measures? So I think that as part of the workflow, I know you guys have in the APP, you have an advanced module. As part of that, if it's possible to have a predictive analytic that helps not only to look at the forest degradation and the illegal mining issue, but also to forecast drought and also to look at crop yield and things like that, especially for this part of the world where we need things like that to help decision makers be forewarned and informed before any of these drought or any things happen.
Thank you, Foster. And we are very much running over time, but I do just want to see if Alessia or Patrick, do you want to quickly respond to that at all, with any insights on emerging capabilities on the platform going forward?
I was actually just going to respond to Foster's comment here in the chat. I think there's some interesting use cases that you highlight. And I think for what regards like predictive analytics for drought forecasting, that's something that's in development. That's something that we're already doing. But predictive analytics for mining operations, for example, is very interesting. It's much more of a broad, you need to consider more variables, but it's an interesting use case. So I think we'll keep that in mind. Certainly, we have also understood that monitoring of mining operations is still something that's not well addressed so far. So.
Brilliant. Thank you, Patrick. Last word, perhaps, to you, Peter. Any thoughts on your side on what you'd like to see in these platforms?
I'll say this half jokingly, of course, more case studies for the energy sector to see what has been done. But thinking about this a bit more, what would be nice to see is really a bit more than just the EO capabilities. I think it always goes hand in hand, right? The EO is a tool in the toolbox in a way. So if there are case studies where you have a combination of EO and how it's been used and applied, seeing a bit more of that would be interesting as well from my end. Otherwise, more geographies, more case studies are great.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you to all of you. I'm afraid we do have to wrap up now. It sounds like this is a conversation that could go on for some time, but we'll have to leave that for a future webinar. And of course, there will be further webinars in this series from GDA and from the M&E team coming up. So do keep a lookout for those. But I'd like to thank all of you on the panel for joining us, especially those of you from further afield, and indeed, Peter, there late night in Manila. Thank you so much for making the time. And to all of you for joining us today. As mentioned, we are open to all suggestions and all feedback, so please don't hesitate to get in touch with the Knowledge Hub team or the APP team at any time, and we very much look forward to hearing from you and hopefully seeing you in the next webinar. Thanks very much and have a good rest of the day. Cheers. Bye-bye.